lifting up Jesus, opening His Word from Australia, Denmark, Israel, Japan, New Zealand, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, Singapore, South Africa, United Kingdom, Thailand, the Philippines, United States, and throughout the world. You're watching Moriel TV.
Should Christians resort to the medical profession when they are ill? Or should, by faith, they claim healings, undergo anointings by the elders, and dismiss the assistance of medical professionals? I knew a chap in New York City, a believer, a close friend of mine, Jewish guy, who came under hyper-faith teaching. And he believed that medical science was only for those who are weak in faith. If he was ill, he'd ask the elders of the church to anoint him and claim the healing. And by his faith, he was guaranteed a healing because he understood by his stripes we are healed as having a guarantee of healing in this life or this world in all circumstances. Well, that is a misunderstanding of Isaiah 53, first of all. But without exegetically dealing with Isaiah 53, let me tell you what became of my friend. When he was professing these beliefs, he had rotting teeth in his mouth because he wouldn't go to a dentist. His appearance was frightful because of dental decay. He battled, eventually, decay and the toothaches that came with it. But he wouldn't go to a dentist. He didn't believe in medical science. Eventually, he became infected by, of all diseases, trichinosis. He did not resort to medical help until it was too late to save his life, and he died in his 30s. Absolutely tragic. And he was somebody who was in many ways an intelligent person. He knew how to make money in the futures markets, in trading and options, and as a financial advisor, and he was something of a quasi-engineer. He would do all kinds of work for the church. Once when the church's elevator was broken and it would have cost an astronomical amount of money to repair it, he cannibalized parts from another elevator and got it working. He was brilliant. He took the heat from the air conditioning system and used it to heat water for the church. I mean, he was quite clever mechanically and electrically in manual work with his hands of a technical nature. And he was smart in finance. He was not a stupid person by any means. And he was biblically quite knowledgeable. But he subscribed to these crazy doctrines. And they killed him. My people perish for a lack of knowledge. Now there's a broad meaning to that verse, but he was a case where he perished for a lack of knowledge. Medical science, genuine medical science, and faith in Jesus are not competitors. Now look, we should never swallow an aspirin without praying. We should never seek medical help without going to the Lord, the good physician, first. But the healings you see in the New Testament and the Old, they were generally healings of things for which there was no known medical cure at that time, and to this day, there'd be no medical cure for most of it. None. When God intervened supernaturally, it was for things for which there was no natural or medical cure. Why should it be different now? We might expect to see more medical miracles in the third world, where there's a lack of physicians, hospitals, medications, and so forth. I do firmly believe God answers prayer and He can heal people. I believe in praying for the sick and anointing with oil. I believe in all of that. But such things do not operate to the exclusion of medical science. Luke the evangelist was a physician. He did not cease being a physician or practicing medicine such as it was then as a profession once he became a Christian and a follower of Jesus. Paul identifies him in the present continuous active as a physician. He did not stop practicing his profession. Jesus used the example of the Good Samaritan, rendering medical relief and assistance to a trauma victim on the Jericho Road. Jesus used it as an example of what we should be like. I know people who are medical missionaries in the third world taking care of sick children and so forth. In Africa, the Philippines, God bless them. The Lord called them to that. He placed them in their profession. I had a dear friend now with the Lord who was a Christian obstetrician. He notoriously fought non-therapeutic abortion within his profession and paid a price for it. Forced into early retirement as a result of his stand against non-therapeutic abortion. He was a voice. The idea that medical science is incompatible with faith in Jesus is complete and utter nonsense. It has no basis of New Testament support whatsoever. However, I am speaking of mainstream, credible, authentic medical science. Medicine, dentistry, that is stomatology. I'm speaking of osteopathy. I'm speaking of pharmacology. I'm not speaking of a lot of New Age techniques and theosophies that often come from Taoism based on the yin-yang presupposition that have infiltrated Western medicine. If, for instance, acupuncture or acupressure can be shown to target points of sympathetic ganglia, well, then there's a physiological basis for it. But I don't believe the Taoism that is underneath it. I've been to China, to Baoding, and I've seen real Chinese medicine. What they market in the West is not what they market in China. They were selling snake oils in wine, 6 species of poison snakes in wine, seeping their venom into the wine, selling that as an aphrodisiac. Again, it's based on yin and yang. It is based on Taoism. That's what acupressure and acupuncture are in their original form. Now, if you can extract something that has a scientific basis from it and demonstrate it physiologically, I'm willing to consider that. But be careful of holistic medicine. Be careful of various forms of naturopathy and things of this nature that are not only devoid of scientific credibility, but many of these things have occult origins. Mainstream medical science, however, is not the enemy of Christianity. If it were, St. Luke would not have remained a physician. Paul would not have spoken well of him for his practice. Jesus would not have used that example. And there were other examples in the Old Testament as well with Hezekiah and so forth. No, dear friends, don't swallow an aspirin without praying. Be led of the Lord when you seek medical help, for sure. There's no substitute for prayer. But do not think that God cannot and does not use medical science. My name is Jacob Prasch. God bless and thank you.